Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Career Exploration Saturday. I'm your host, Ebony Tyler. I have real conversations with real people about real jobs. So this week's episode is sponsored by Nicolette Emerson. You remember Nicolette. She was one of our first guests way back in July. She is a massage therapist. Well, guess what? She is open for business. I've already had 2 massages, and the way she gets into my shoulders and my upper back is amazing. I hold a lot of stress to here, and she just really gets right in. When I walk out of her massage studio, I feel so relaxed. Listen, Nicolette has me feeling that massages are not just for vacations, that they should be a part of our wellness and our self-care practices. So, her office is conveniently located in Chelsea. It's clean, it's private, and she takes all COVID precautions. You need to book a massage today, or even gift one to one of your loved ones. I gave it as a birthday gift, and she loved it. Just feeling all relaxed. It's the perfect way to tell someone that you care about them. So listen, you can book a massage at NicoletteEmerson.com. That's NicoletteEmerson.com. Now, when you get on her massage table, you tell her Ebony from Career Exploration Saturday Liberated Success sent you. All right, let's get into today's episode. So this week, my guest is Stephanie Blyden. Stephanie is retired from the U.S. Air Force. We talk about basic training. We talk about how to select a career path in the military and her transition into civilian life. Stephanie now works for the government in HR. She gave us some amazing advice on what hiring managers are looking for. This was a super informative conversation, and I think you're going to love it as much as I love talking to Stephanie. All right, let's jump right in. Good afternoon. Welcome, Stephanie. Welcome to Career Exploration Saturday. I am so happy that you are here today.
Hi, Ebony. Thank you for having me. I'm excited as well.
So, folks, me and Stephanie went to high school together. So, another Midwood Hornet in the house. So, I like to start all of the conversations. Tell us about 16-year-old Stephanie. Did you have it all together? Did you know what you wanted to be?
I would like to know which 16-year-old said they had it together. I have no idea. But as for me, I think I had a pretty good head on my shoulders. I'm the oldest of 4, so I had a lot of responsibility raising my siblings. So as far as school, I was a hot mess. I had no direction. I was mainly focused on what can I do to get me out of the house. So I wasn't really good in academics. I didn't go to school much. I cut a lot of classes at 16. But yeah, that's what I was doing.
But you graduated.
Absolutely. I graduated.
And then what'd you do after graduation?
After graduation, I went to school part-time. So I went to BMCC. Borough Manhattan Community College, and I worked at Bed Bath & Beyond on 6th Avenue. I actually helped stand up 1-800-GO-BEYOND. So I'd be like, 1-800-GO-BEYOND, this is Stephanie, how can I help you? So that was my first job. And that was really hard. So working full-time, going to school full-time, dealing with New York City hustle and bustle, it was tough.
Now, I actually wanted you here because I want you to share your journey in the military.
Okay, yes.
So how did you get from BMCC to the military? And then tell us what branch you're in.
Okay, absolutely. So like I said, working full-time, going to school full-time, it was tough. So one summer, the summer of 1998, I went down to Florida for Walton Beach for a family reunion. My family, we come from a military background. So my grandfather, was retired Air Force. I have an uncle that retired from the Marines, one from the Army, and then another aunt that served in the Army. So there's a bunch of veterans. So my grandmother actually talked to me about what I was doing in New York, how I was feeling. I told her what I was going through, and she said, you know what, Steph, you should really join the Air Force. It's the best service. And also my uncles and aunts also said you should join the Air Force. So they're in other branches. So letting me know that, I was like, okay, so that's letting me know that the Air Force is the best branch. And my grandfather, he sat me down for a while and he talked about it. He talked about the benefits, the different types of jobs. So I thought long and hard about it. And at the same time, my best friend in New York City, she actually was, well, without telling me secretly, she had went to a recruiter for the Navy. And so we both talked about it when we got back to New York. And I thought to myself, you know what? And I didn't tell anyone. So anytime I make a huge decision, I tend to keep it to myself. So I visited an Air Force recruiter, and that's where it all started. I just went, I'm doing it. And then so December of 1998 is when I enlisted into the United States Air Force.
Now, basic training. What's that like? I mean, coming from New York, because
right. So you know what? The concrete jungle, the concrete jungle is a real thing, right? So when you come from New York, you pretty much have a step ahead of a lot of other people who come from really small rural towns and communities who haven't really interacted with many people and seen, a lot of, go-getters, right? So people who are, they're using the word progressive, but always moving forward, right? So growing up in New York City, that's what you see. So when you go to basic training, I will say it was scary because of the unknown. So what most people know about the military tends to be what they see on movies, right? So a lot of people assume you're marching around all day, you don't leave the base, so you're stuck on this confined space. So going to basic training was terrifying, right? So I'm on this bus, it's dark. They bring you in at the same time. Everyone who joins the military basic training, they bring you in on the buses when it's dark. And I don't know what the reason is, but they do that. And I remember standing there and they're like yelling, everyone's yelling. And I was like, what's going on? But I had a stepdad who yelled a lot. So I was already used to that, right? I was used to people getting in my face. So that didn't really intimidate me too much. But when I heard the sound of the TI's boots, they wear these, I can't think of what they're called, but taps. So on their boots, you hear that clicking, and you just, I remember like my whole body was like frozen, right? But basic training was great. I met a lot of people from all around the country. I had people from Alaska, Washington, Iowa, Florida, and then me from Brooklyn. It was great. It was a great experience. It taught me a lot, taught me so much about discipline, just making your bed, and those skill sets that I learned in basic traveled with me throughout my whole entire career and life. Just prioritizing things, and even in my personal life, prioritizing family, because when you're away from them and confined and you cannot have visitors, it does put your mind into focus of what's most important for you. So
how long is basic training?
For the Air Force, is 6 weeks.
Oh, that's nice and short.
They might have changed it since I went. I know that they were talking about changing it to being 8 weeks, but yeah, it's more 6. The Air Force they call it like the corporate side of the military. So basic training is a lot of classwork. Actually, we're in class the majority of the day. We do have PT, so physical training. We are out there running, marching, learning how to salute, learning to stand at attention, and all of those things matter later in your career. So as you're growing in your military career, you understand the significance of standing at attention, the importance of saluting, the patriotical reason for the flag, right? So there's so many different things you learn in those 6 weeks. The training is is amazing.
So how do you know what you want to specialize in, or how do you know what career path to go into if the basic training is 6 to 8 weeks?
So it's separate. So you have basic training. So basic training is teaching you about the Air Force,
okay,
and about the military, right? So you're learning military customs and courtesies, and you're learning the history of the Air Force. Then once you get your job, and then how they do that is how you come in, you take a test, it's the ASVAB, and depending on how you score, you can either choose a job, so if you're good at math, you'll be able to choose jobs that are math dominant. If you're good, and like me, I was good with, I don't know how it's described on the ASVAB, but I'm good in HR. So analytics, putting things together, not physically putting things together, but combining thoughts, things like that. But, so you get to choose. You can choose open general, or you can choose open admin. Mm-hmm. Administrative, that's the word I meant to use. Administrative, I'm good with administrative processes. So so then after you get your job, you celebrate, right? So you're in basic training, you're waiting to see what job did they select me for. And then after that, you go to tech school. Okay. So tech school is could be on a different base than basic training. So my tech school was in Biloxi, Mississippi, translates in the civilian world to HR. So everything to do with processing. So it would be onboarding, military retirements, military orders, anything to do with human resources functions for the military personnel. That's what we learned to do in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Now, I've been to Biloxi. So what was it like? And I was just there, to go to the casino. But what is it like? What was it like for a Black girl from Brooklyn going to the deep south of Biloxi, Mississippi?
I hated it.
Okay.
So I'll tell you why. In the deep south, like Biloxi, Mississippi, there are constant reminders of the history, the South. In the North, there's not, right? So you don't see things like Lynch River or huts that are probably 150 years old, so I remember just when we were able to go off base, because when you're transitioning from basic training to tech school, they phase you into freedom, right? So first week, second week, third week, but the first time I left the base, I just was looking around, and it was extremely uncomfortable. Mm-hmm.
So were you in Biloxi long?
6 weeks.
Okay. Oh, so there's like a pattern: 6 weeks here, 6 weeks there. All right.
It was my pattern. So, other careers in the Air Force, like for instance, air traffic control, they're actually in training for almost a year. So so it just depends on your job and how long they feel it takes for you to be, sufficient enough to start.
So you've been in the military for over 20 years. Well, you're retired now, but after you finished basic training and your regular training, then what happens next? Do you apply for jobs, or do they just give you a job?
This is the exciting part. So okay. So after basic, I knew what job I was going to. I got the job of my choice, which was HR personnel. Mm-hmm. After that, so the next waiting period in tech school is, what base am I going to go to? So where are they going to send me, right? Because a Brooklyn girl, I'm not trying to go to North Dakota. I'm not trying to go to Alaska. I wanted to go somewhere fun, somewhere big city, So I'll never forget this day either, when I found out where they selected me to go. My first duty station was Omaha, Nebraska. Yes. So when they told me, I said, no, you're kidding me. I said, how are they going to send a Brooklyn girl to Omaha, Nebraska? Please say it's New England. But actually, I really enjoyed myself there. The base was beautiful. I got to get a sense of the Midwest and what the people in the Midwest are like and what they value. So it was a wonderful experience. And my first job was communications. I worked in the satellite field, so in strategic command.
Mm-hmm. Now, what is that exactly is strategic command?
So strategic command is it's a command center for for space.
Oh, okay. Okay.
For space operations.
So when I got your resume and I was looking at it, I was like, oh, okay. Bellevue NE. Is that Nebraska?
Yes.
So while you were there, you were in college.
So I did college online. So I started in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved. So college was a very long process because I was full-time active duty military. So I did community college first. I actually have 2 associate's degrees. So I have an associate's in human resources management and in information systems for the community college of the Air Force. And then I went online and got my undergrad at Bellevue University because I was familiar with the college when I was stationed in Nebraska.
Okay. And then how do you transition out of the military? I mean, it sounds like the military, well, the Air Force gave you amazing skills, that you got a lot of skills that are actually transferable to other jobs. But how do you put all of that together to know, okay, so now I'm going to leave the military, and then how do you transition into civilian life to be able to work?
So for every veteran, it's different. But for all veterans, it's difficult, the transition, right? So you're used to this camaraderie, you're used to being guided of where you're going to go or told where you're going to go next. And then so when you retire or separate, it's all up to you, right? So you're trying to figure out, okay, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? For me, the transition was a little different than most because I always knew that I wanted to be in DC, right? But you've got to connect, you've got to network, and so when you're in the military active duty, you don't really have those networks, right? So I thought, oh, what am I going to do? So for the first year, I said, you know what? I'm just going to work at a regular job and I'm going to transition my personal life first. I'm going to take care of myself first, right? Before I start focusing on my next career path. So I worked one of the great transferable skills from the military are your leadership, management and leadership. I can't stress that enough. I've had plenty of training from first line supervisor to manager. The military sent me to customer service training at Disney, just countless emotional intelligence, all of the training you could think of to equip a person to effectively manage people, the military gave me. So I said to myself, you know what, I'm just going to apply for manager jobs. I don't care if it's at a sneaker store or wherever. I'm just going to apply for a management position until I can figure out what I want to do in DC. So I worked as a manager at Massage Envy. And I thought, so it's such a difference, right? From going to the military to the spa environment. But actually, I like to believe that I really helped that business out with the skills that I had. They were a little, they needed a lot of organization and structure to help out so that they had a good foundation in order to be able to deliver the wonderful services that they do of spa and facials, right? Mm-hmm. So I did that for a year. And actually the franchise owner, he was a retired Navy veteran. So that helped me. So there it is. So there's that network in itself, right?
Right.
A lot of veterans around the country. So yeah, that's what I did. And that's what I did to transition. So from just living a military life to a civilian life. And so that helped.
Have you ever been deployed?
I have. Mm-hmm. I was deployed in 2010 to Kuwait.
And
my mission. You want to talk about mission? Because it's so cool. Yeah.
oh, okay. I didn't know. I was just going to ask about like the basics work skills that you did there. But if you want to talk about the mission, come on.
Oh, well, yeah, the work skills are the mission, right? So
Yeah.
I want the youth to know that when you think about deploying, there's so many pieces to that, right? So not all of us are on the front lines. We all support those that are on the front line. So whether they are the fighters, so the on the front lines with the guns, whether they're the pilots, right? So they're all out there, doing the mission, and then we're out there supporting them doing the mission. So for me, in an administrative role, I was in charge of the aircraft that the passengers. So putting the passengers on the planes, those people that were deployed, and the war fighters that needed to go home for their 2-week R&R, so rest and relaxation. I was responsible for making sure that they had a seat on the aircraft to get home to their families, and then returning back to the field.
And how long is a deployment?
For every career, it's different, and every service is different. I was there for 6 months. 6 months, so I spent. I was deployed for Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, my birthday. I was away during that year.
And that was your only deployment?
That was my only deployment, yeah.
Okay. Wow. So out of 20 plus years, you were only deployed once for 6 months.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's just let that sit there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we think, oh, I'm going to go to the military and I'm going to be away forever. I'm going to be on deployment after deployment. And that's not always the case.
It's not.
So
it's not.
The military experience is it sounds to me that it's very individualized based on what career path you choose to take.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Career path and branch of service, right? So if you're in the Army, chances are you're going to be deployed a lot more. And the Army, they deploy for 12 months at a time.
So it behooves, the Air Force. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. No, go ahead.
I mean, so it behooves a young person to actually do research about each branch before you make a decision, as opposed to, well, I'm just going to join the Marines.
Right.
And not considering what all your options are.
Yes.
So now you have managed large personnel groups.
Yes.
300, 600 people.
So manage is, up on the top, right? So then you have your people underneath you. Yeah. But yes, very much so.
It's a lot of personalities.
For sure. Yeah. But you know what? You know what's great? What's great is what's good about the military is that they move you everywhere, right? So like I said, I've lived in the Midwest, I've lived in the South, I've lived in the East. I've visited all over the place. So with that, you if you're open to it, you become very well-rounded, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you are an absorber like me and you pay attention and you listen, people becomes people is my thing, right? So I'm good with people. I'm good at communicating with them and also listening to their needs.
Which is a huge skill that managers and leaders should have, is listening skills. Also listening for what isn't being said. So
yeah, for sure.
So what are you doing now? You're out of the military. Where are you now?
So now I'm in Washington, D.C. I work at Customs and Border Protection headquarters. So right on Pennsylvania Avenue, I'm a policy analyst. So the biggest skill that I earned from the Air Force and that I paid attention to, that I was really good at and I like doing, is reviewing policy and holding people accountable to that policy. So I wanted to make sure that when I looked for my next career, it was something aligned with that. So I review, edit, proofread policy for the HR department in headquarters, Customs and Border Protection.
So with a 20 plus year career in human resources, can you give us some advice on how to maneuver in our careers? Like, what are employers looking for? What are managers looking for? How can a young person stand out, especially in this virtual world?
So I'd first say that I'm always looking for someone who knows what they're looking for, right? So if you come to an interview and you're not really sure if it's the right place for you, then that's going to make me question whether or not you're going to value being there, right? So I say this in life and in career, the first most important thing is to know yourself and know what you want, right? Do not go into a job interview not knowing what you want. And to take it a step back, your resume, it's the first picture of you, right? So you want to make sure that it reads well, that there's no grammatical errors. So the funniest thing about HR is we're looking through hundreds of resumes, right? And so let's say you spelled something wrong. What that tells me about this, it could be just a typo. What that tells me is not that you don't know how to spell, but that you didn't take the time out, right, to proofread your resume. So if you didn't take the time out for yourself, how do I know that you're going to take the time out when it comes to this position, right? And learning the position and doing the training for the position and whatever the case may be. So that representation of yourself is probably more important than your actual skill set, right? Because if I work for an organization that is well equipped to train you, right? I'm looking on your resume for those things that I can't train you on, right? So remember that your resumes and your interviews are letting me know about you and what I cannot train in you.
So it weeds you out.
Yes.
Not necessarily pulls you in.
Correct. So what pulls us, so you want to know what pulls someone in?
Yes.
I always like to give the example of two candidates that are equally qualified, right? You're equally qualified, you've done the work, you have the skills. What is it that's going to make one candidate stand out over the next, right? It's going to be those people skills. And that's why I always advocate people. You can develop a people skill every single day. You can develop small talk at the grocery store with the cashier. Anywhere in life, you can develop your people skill, because that is a skill that's going to make you win over another candidate that has the same credentials that you have.
So you know what that tells me? That this is a hindrance to young people, because we're texting, we're not communicating, we're not picking up the phone and talking to people. We don't have on our cameras and actually looking at people face to face because we're in a virtual world. And that is weeding you out.
It is also focus, right? So if you're constantly distracted by your cell phone or whatever piece of technology that you choose, like video games are a big thing too, right? So if you're always distracted by something, you might not know how to focus. Even on an interview, people don't understand the seriousness behind being addicted to your cell phones, right? It's an addiction. So I always advise to be very cautious of that, Be very cautious of the time that you spend on your phone, on the computer, TV, video games, because if you are wanting to succeed in a career, you're going to need those people skills. They're going to come in handy. They've saved me, and my people skills have saved me and have excelled me my entire career. Right?
Yeah, I mean, they say
Connection.
people want to work with people that they can get along with, people that they like, people that they can connect with.
Yeah. Well, let me also give a shout out to my introverts too, right? Because they're important. They are important as well. So I would say know thyself again, right? So if you know that you are a introvert, there are specific career fields that you can choose that would benefit you, right? So if you're not a people person, right? If you just know, I'm quiet, I like to be to myself, you might want to pick a job that not HR, right? So not in HR. So I mean, but still, even an introverted person, at some point, if you would like to grow in your career, you're going to have to interview. You're going to have to talk to your leadership, your supervisors, your managers. You're going to have to, at some point, talk to people. Yeah. Just not every day, depending on your career field. And that's okay.
So let's see. Final question. Is there anything that you wish that someone told you about the military or HR that you think would have made your path a little easier, or maybe just some gem that you picked up along the way that no one told you, but you're like, wait, that's good to know, that you want to share?
A gem. I have so many gems, right? But talking to my younger self and to all the younger people out there trying to find their way, I think it's really important to realize where you are right now and what do you want right now, and focus on that, right? Focus on that, whatever that is. Sometimes looking too far ahead makes you lose focus in the right now. And also remember that nothing is permanent, right? So you could be having a difficult time with your college applications or even going to college in the first place, right? Or college might not even be for you. Whatever it is that you are wanting right now, whatever is most important to you, focus on that. And never give up, no matter what. Don't give up. I always tell people, keep swimming like Dory from Finding Nemo, because time will tell and things always change. Like right now, 2020, it's been excruciatingly challenging, right? Mm-hmm. But 2 years from now, just like 9/11, 2 years from now, this will be behind us. So that it's the grit that gets you to success. And whatever success is just depends on what you think it is.
Stephanie, this was amazing. Yes. Thank you so much. And we are going to leave it right there.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. So some takeaways are: the representation of yourself is of the utmost importance. You must know yourself, what you're looking for, and what you want. This applies to life and the workplace. 2, your resume weeds you out. Your resume interview informs hiring managers what they cannot train in you. What they cannot train in you. All right, and 3, there are so many options in the military. Research each branch before making a decision. The biggest transferable skills that you can leave with from having a career in the military is leadership. The military is a place to develop your emotional intelligence, managerial, and communication skills. Thank you so much, Stephanie, and welcome to the Liberated Success family. All right, folks. The application is open for liberated problem solvers. We are accepting applications from students 18 to 24 years old, Brooklyn resident with a GED or high school diploma, identify as a member of the BIPOC community, and are disconnected from college, vocational training, or full-time employment. We got to hit some of these data points, people, okay? If, you're struggling with some of these, please hit me up and we can talk about it. All right, the application deadline is March 15th. It's a 6-week paid virtual internship. The requirements are that students are going to have to be available for 5 hours per week during the weeks of April 12th to May 21st. Students are going to receive a $750 stipend. Now, this could not be possible without your support. Your donations are going directly to students. So, I'm asking you to share this with your networks, share this with students in your lives, and continue to support our work, okay? If you are watching this on the podcast or listening on the podcast, you can make a donation through listener support. There's also a way for you to make a donation and also to sponsor the podcast by clicking on Sponsor Career Exploration Saturday when you go to the donation page. For $50, you pay the fee, $50, that's your taxable donation, and you send us a message with what you want us to say about your business with your email, your contact information, and you too can sponsor Career Exploration Saturday. Remember, all of our work is basically run by donations from our community. So we are very supportive of your generosity. So if you find our work informative, impactful, insightful, informative, show us some love with a donation. Thank you for watching and listening all the way to the end. The links are in my bio. It's the first comment on Facebook. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, follow us on IG, Facebook, and Twitter. Wear your mask, wash your hands, physically distance, all Black Lives Matter, and really thinking about Texas. Prayers up for Texas. See you next week. Bye.